Alright guys, one of the most exclusive skins in Forsaken is losing its rarity, with it causing serious backlash. Let's break down what happened. So there was a free dev skin that you could only obtain in one very specific way, and that was by joining a private server hosted by SoyG himself. The skin was called SoyG, and it instantly became one of the most sought-after skins in Forsaken. Not because it was locked behind a badge, or even spend time grinding for the skin. The only requirement was timing. Whenever Sebastian announced that he was about to drop a private server link, players had to be ready. You needed to be following his Twitter, watching for notifications, and then competing with everyone else to join before the server filled up. And because this skin came with custom animations, including a special kill animation with color and electricity cool kid, people really wanted the skin. With his follower count making its way to 100,000 followers, the demand was extremely high. Since there was no structured requirement like earning a badge or completing a challenge, it all came down to being online at the right time. Players were staying up late into the night just waiting for a server link to appear. For some, that meant 3 or 4 a.m. depending on time zones. And even if you were awake, there was no guarantee you'd actually get in. Different devices had different issues. Some people ran into long loading queues. Others were stuck on console or mobile and couldn't join in time. It became less about effort and more about luck and availability. Because of that, SoyG quickly became one of the rarest skins in Forsaken. It was never meant to be a public skin. It existed because one of the TikToks showcasing his skin blew up, which many people wanted to get this skin, so he decided to give it out to fans. But unintentionally, that generosity created one of the most exclusive skins in the game. Fast forward to now, and Sebastian has officially announced that SoyG will be coming to the shop for everyone. However, there's a twist. The original version, the one obtained through the private server drops, will remain exclusive. The public version will receive a slight redesign, leaning more into a military aesthetic inspired by Guest 1337. According to Sebastian, the decision to make the skin public was about fairness. Not everyone has the time, patience, or opportunity to participate in chaotic drops. Some players genuinely tried multiple times and still couldn't get in. Making a redesigned public version allows more players to access SoyG without completely erasing the value of the OG version. But this is where the backlash begins. Some players argue that saying this change prevents people from being left out isn't entirely accurate. From their perspective, releasing a redesigned version still leaves people out because the original exclusive version remains unattainable. For collectors who stayed up for hours, refreshed constantly, and fought through queues, the exclusivity was the reward. That time investment felt meaningful. And now, even if the redesign is slightly different, the identity of the skin shifts from ultra-rare to semi-accessible. Others have compared this situation to the burnt gingerbread guest skin during the Christmas update. In that case, OG players received a slightly different variant as appreciation, but it wasn't a drastic redesign. It maintained fairness without feeling like a full duplication. The concern now is whether SoyG's redesign will be subtle enough to maintain that balance, or whether it will feel like two completely separate skins. Sebastian later clarified that the original drop system wasn't sustainable. Players were genuinely staying up at extreme hours just to catch a server link, and some couldn't even join depending on their device. The redesign is meant to keep SoyG accessible while preserving the OG version as a badge of appreciation for early supporters. Of course, this is the Forsaken community, so debate is inevitable. Some suggested turning SoyG into a badge skin instead, allowing players to complete a challenge to unlock it. Others proposed adding it to the VIP pass. But both of those ideas create new problems. A badge-based skin would require some sort of development and effort on how to get the skin, and this being a dev skin is doing a bit too much. Also, putting it in VIP creates another paywall, which free-to-play players wouldn't appreciate, especially when VIP already affects access to other skins. There were also suggestions for one final OG drop wave for players who missed out. However, the recent announcement strongly implies that this won't happen. Once the public version releases, the original drop system is effectively over. Interestingly, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. The Isaac skin followed a somewhat similar pattern, originally being given out through private servers before later becoming available in different ways. Sebastian had to choose between maintaining strict rarity and increasing accessibility. The OG version remains a symbol of early participation, while the redesigned version opens the door for everyone else. Was this the right decision to allow everyone to have access to this skin? But what makes this situation more interesting isn't just the fact that SoyG is becoming public, it's what this means for exclusivity in Forsaken moving forward. Limited skins have always carried a certain status. When something is difficult to obtain, especially through chaotic private server drops, it automatically feels more valuable, not just because of the design, but because of the experience attached to it. Staying up late, refreshing Discord, racing into a server before it fills, that's what created the story behind SoyG. And that's why some players feel conflicted. It's not necessarily about the redesign itself. It's about whether the effort they put in still means the same thing once a version becomes available to everyone. Even if the OG version remains untouched, the perception of rarity can shift. When a skin moves from limited drop only to shop item, even in altered form, it changes how people view its legacy. At the same time, there's another side to this. Accessibility matters. Not everyone lives in the same time zone. Not everyone can sit on Discord waiting for a server link to appear. Some players missed out simply because of school, work, platform restrictions, or device limitations. In that sense, making a redesigned version public levels the playing field. It allows newer players to experience a skin that would otherwise be permanently locked behind timing and luck. This also raises a bigger question. If this will become the norm, if dev giveaway skins eventually get public variants, does that reduce the urgency of future drops? The balance between exclusivity and inclusivity is tricky. Too much exclusivity can cause newer players to not want to even bother try collecting skins. With too much accessibility can kill any reason to grind for a skin, which we can now see this happening to the narrator Noli skin, as this skin will be getting another obtainable method to unlock it, but with some grind again for players. Ultimately, SoyG becoming public might not just be a one-off decision. It could signal how Forsaken plans to handle limited content going forward, and depending on how the community responds, it may influence how future dev skins are distributed. So now that SoyG is getting a public version while the OG remains exclusive, do you think this was the right balance? Or should it have stayed completely limited? Subscribe and hit the bell for more Forsakening it.